This tragic incident came to be known as the Volga Meat Grinder, and its aftermath was truly shocking. Official reports stated that 176 individuals lost their lives, with approximately 50 sustaining severe injuries. However, these figures were heavily understated, and crucial details surrounding the accident were immediately classified. A governmental commission, led by Haydar Aliyev, was hastily dispatched to Ulyanovsk, where the city was promptly placed under lockdown. For weeks thereafter, bodies were discovered along the Volga's shores, with local scavengers showing no hesitation in looting valuables amidst the tragedy. The summer of 1983 proved to be scorching, with hundreds of individuals having purchased tickets for a river cruise from Rostov-on-Don to Moscow aboard the luxurious four-deck vessel, the Alexander Suvorov. Little did they anticipate that July 5th would transform into a nightmare. Shortly after 10 p.m., the vessel collided with the non-navigable sixth span of the Ulyanovsk Bridge over the Volga for reasons unknown. The impact wreaked havoc on the ship, decimating the wheelhouse, captain's cabin, radio room, and cinema hall, which housed over 200 passengers. Simultaneously, a freight train was traversing the bridge, resulting in the derailment of 11 cars and the spillage of logs, grain, and coal onto both the ship and the bridge. Remarkably, a colossal fuel tank became ensnared on the bridge railing. Had it plummeted onto the vessel, no soul would have survived. The ship continued its forward trajectory, crushing everything and everyone beneath the bridge. The train engineer recalled witnessing the ship appearing as though draped in a red carpet from above. It took 40 minutes for aid to arrive, and throughout the night, survivors were evacuated from the ship while the deceased were removed. Concurrently, an investigation into the catastrophe commenced immediately. However, the true magnitude of the disaster was concealed, and the investigation was clandestine. Newspapers published brief articles offering condolences to the families of the victims, yet the following morning, the city was sealed off to incoming relatives. Arriving relatives were met by KGB agents at the airport and escorted to headquarters before being relocated to a hotel. Staff at the hotel were instructed not to engage with the guests, fueling rampant speculation throughout the city. The cleanup operation endured for an entire month. Witnesses recalled the shock of witnessing the bodies retrieved from the water. Some immediately leaped into the water, refusing to participate in the effort or remain at the scene. Others requested a glass of vodka before assisting with the aftermath. One participant in the cleanup recounted the moment the bodies of the navigator and helmsman were recovered from the water and placed on deck one of the rescue vessels. The ship's captain requested to cover the bodies. An individual found an old flag and draped it over the deceased. The following day, the captain was summoned to the chief's office, where KGB agents were present, and he was sternly rebuked for covering state criminals with the national flag. It was later determined during the investigation that the ship's captain, Vladimir Klemenov, was off duty at the time of the disaster. In his cabin before the night shift, which he was fully entitled to, and had no involvement in managing the vessel. According to the captain, at the time of the collision between the ship and the bridge, he was thrown into the water, where he saved one of the drowning passengers, but due to injuries sustained, he was unable to participate in the accident response. At the time of the accident, the bridge was manned by the helmsman, Evgeny Mitingov, and the helmsman, Uvarov, according to surviving witnesses who had shortly before the accident been in the cabin. Mitingov was reading a book while Uvarov, who, according to some reports, lacked sufficient experience, was in control of the vessel. Experts brought in by the investigation revealed that the helmsman may have made a mistake as there was no light signaling on the bridge. It was turned off, and he may have mistaken the railway hut above the sixth span of the bridge for the signal board of the pass-through span and directed the ship there. However, given that clear visibility of the bridge spans during the accident was about 3 kilometers, these factors could not have been the direct cause of the catastrophe. In any case, it was not feasible to ask them. Uvarov and Mitingov perished in the accident. The expertise established that at the time of their death, they were completely sober. The investigation was concluded in record time, with Captain Klemenov being sentenced to 10 years for criminal negligence, accused of covering up state criminals with the national flag. He served about 6 years before being released on health grounds in 1990. He died of a heart attack. Many rivermen who knew Captain Klemenov well refused to believe in his negligence and incompetence to manage the crew. Klemenov was a top-class specialist with nearly 30 years of work experience. Vladimir's daughter believes that her father was simply made a scapegoat. According to Larissa Clemy, they searched for a lawyer for a long time. No one wanted to take on the case. Even before the trial, Vladimir and his wife were expelled from the party and had all their property confiscated. Many neighbors and colleagues at work even stopped saying hello to the captain's family, and he himself, according to his daughter, was hinted at suicide when he was in Lefortovo. After all, it became clear that nobody wanted to figure out the reasons for what happened. It was necessary to find a scapegoat and arrange a demonstrative punishment. Many of Clemmy's colleagues remembered that over the years of service, he had received many awards and commendations. Vladimir had an iron discipline. However, the court did not take any of this into account. One of Klaymanov's friends, Captain Lev Skuratov, believed that it was possible that by the time of the collision, both the helmsman and the navigator were dead. He said that in order not to end up in this span, one had to be unconscious. Mitingov knew this place perfectly. He had passed under this bridge many times. Even if there was a mistake, they could not fail to notice that they were steering in the wrong direction. They did not slow down the speed of the ship, even when the newest construction of the bridge was approaching.